You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 261 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by Hands on Gloves. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we have the future of horse racing and also a little bit about the past. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Jen, with me today, and I want to tell you about the show, Jen. It's so fun.
Ill-timed sneeze. Whew, sorry about that.
Bless you.
Bless me. This is going to be interesting because we get to hear a little bit of the point of view of a new recruit student coming in from overseas, but she's unlike a lot of the students that come to the school, she's an extremely experienced horse person.
She is.
So this is going to be fun to hear about that, how she's, why she's coming and how she got introduced to Monty and stuff. But then we're going to have a little visit from Monty today, aren't we?
We are. He's going to tell us a little bit about why we shouldn't lose some of the expertise and little touches on this farm that were so critical at the time when he built the farm. And I can even tease a little bit of it. But to go back to Shannon Hillis for just a second, you're going to love her. She's 27 and she is, at the tip of her career and ready to launch in a big way, although she's ridden her whole life and run races and won races and everything else. But she comes from a family. Her mother was a very good rider, and her dad is an incredible race jockey, 24-year career, 500 wins, 12 countries. It's Hillis Racing in Germany. A lot of people will know that. And his whole encouragement is to get her to do exactly what she loves. So he is Irish, or he is German and she's Irish, or is she Irish? And I can't remember, but she'll tell it in the story. But his career started back in 1982, and he grew up with a father who was also into horses. So we're just talking legacy here, and you'll hear the excitement that she sees for the current way we train versus what she's seeing happening in the old way, the old old traditional stuff that's still kind of hanging on, but she's not going to hold on to it. You can tell. But going back to Dad, I hope everybody listens carefully to how he describes some of the innovations that they put into the farm in 1966, by the way. It was a long time ago, 55-ish years now. And he built the round pins in a certain way that he never sees round pins built like even to this day. So why don't we see that yet? If it was an innovation in 66, why aren't we seeing some of these round pins built in the way that he advised us back then? And they're still standing and they're strong as ever. And they also have all these innovations that, without getting into the details, there's no birds nesting in them and things like that too. And then also the covered arena has unusual rafters. This is when glue lamps first started coming in, and there's advantages to that too. And why people aren't using some of that technology, we're not sure. And even the pasture covers that we have, completely innovative, with no posts for horses to rub on and no rafters. And that'll become really important too. And I know you're probably all scratching your heads going, what do they look like then? Why is this so different? Well, I would say, why are they still standing? Because they're made so well and with such engineering ingenuity that they should be copied and spread to the world. The funny thing is he was put in a plane by his partner when they built the 66. He was put on a plane to go to several different countries to see the most innovative things. So let's hear about what he came back with.
Here we go. Audio tour of Flag Is Up Farms with the originator, Monty Roberts. And we're going to get right to it after we hear from our title sponsor, another ingenious inventor, Hands on Gloves.
Jay Michelson grew up bathing and grooming horses and dogs. Raised in Texas, he always wondered why his family couldn't find a better way than the old hard-to-hold curry combs or bathing mitts that never fit and the shedding blades that literally ripped the animal's hair right out. Well, fast forward 20 years, and Jay had an idea. Frustrated by the old products still not improving after 20 years, he spent more than 4 years and several $100,000 developing hands-on gloves, quickly realizing that the reason a quality, comparable grooming product had never been developed, they were really difficult to make right. But he did it. Hands-on reaches far beyond the traditional curry combs, mitts, and shutters out there on the market. Wet or dry, the delicate gloves won't slip or fall off, providing both the groomer and the animal with more thorough and enjoyable grooming and bathing experiences. Constructed from durable, hypoallergenic, surgical-grade material, these lightweight gloves come in 5 sizes with extremely soft nodules on the fingers and palms. Trust me, hands-on gloves are the best of all the ways out there to groom your horses, dogs, and cats. Put them on your gift list, too. Find all the sizes and all the colors at handsongloves.com. Shannon Hillis was born and raised in stables and on horseback, growing up as the daughter of John David Hillis, who rode nearly 500 winners as a jockey worldwide before settling in Munich, where he runs the family stable as a successful trainer. Shannon's mother, Jeanette Spratter, was a good sports writer as well, and also owner of successful racehorses. So Shannon went from pony racing and jumping to a mature race rider at 14 years of age, and at 27, she is now running all aspects of the stables. John David Hillis has taught Shannon all aspects of her sport, racing horses, but she wanted to expand her learning in the direction of helping horses and how to handle difficult horses. Well, welcome, Shannon Hillis. I'm so excited to talk to you. You're hailing from Germany. What part of Germany are you in right now?
I'm right now in Munich, down in Bavaria and near to the Alps.
That sounds beautiful right now. Is it gorgeous?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's 38 degrees, actually very hot over here, and very nice and bright.
That's nice. Well, good. And I know you're part Irish too, so you appreciate a little sunshine when you can get it, right?
Correct. Rain is mostly over in our country, but when we have sunshine, that's the best to be out.
It is. It's just gorgeous. Both Ireland and the Bavarian area. I can't imagine a prettier scene when the sun is out. And we're so excited to talk to a horse girl that's able to ride out and amongst all that beauty too. And the reason I wanted to have you on is because you are, this is where I say, professionals at 27 years old can be as learned and, professional as anyone in the industry. And I think you're the center of the target, Shannon. And we described a little bit why with your background and your family. But I think it's kind of interesting, too, that your dad's dad was also a trainer. Isn't that right?
Yes. So actually, Daddy started off when he was about 15, riding out in Ireland. With David Well, he started to do his apprenticeship, and then he started over to become a jockey worldwide. And he finished up in Munich when he met my mum, and I finally came to birth. And this is how I got introduced into racing, and this is how it took me over. And now he's a trainer since 2006 in Munich, and this is where my time started to involve more with horses. Since the day he became a trainer after being a jockey.
So, but you were raised on horseback and you were racing at age, 14?
Well, my first race I rode with 14, correct? Mm-hmm. And I started off with ponies and jumping and dressage. And when I was 12, that is when I was allowed to do my first canter on Diamond Diggins. It used to be a group horse. And I got him over for my first little hack around the track, and that's where the spirit came over, and I said, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so when I did with 13 my license, took it out in 14 because before the rules were a bit different. Now you are only allowed to start riding races with 16, what is actually better, because when you're too young, you not have the experience for it, and you enjoy it and you don't take it so seriously what it's all about actually. So since I'm 14, I'm riding races, and yes.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And that's what I love about having someone on with the perspective of 20. At age 27, you have the perspective of seeing generationally work with horses. And I just think it's interesting that you have come to a point in your life now that you've been riding, you've been involved with horses, but you want to take it to a new level. And I thought we could talk a little bit more about that. So you're one of those amazing students that just reaches to the heights of where can I go to learn a little bit more about this or that. And you said in your application here is that you wanted to expand your learning in the direction of helping horses and maybe even how to handle more difficult horses. And is that because you want to become a professional trainer yourself, or do you see that? What do you see for the future?
So, of course, one day I would like to take over this racing yard of my dad. But first of all, why I wanted to do it is because the knowledge of the horses is there, but it's not improved that you can help every horse or horses with problems or hard youngster life or how they got treated. And through the traveling I did and see the world and actually also ride races and see trainings and so on, I was thinking to myself a long time ago, actually, why does those horses have so many problems? Why do the people don't react like they do with a human? And they use them like machines, and they aren't machines. And so then I was sitting down and I was thinking to myself, there must be a way to help them, to be there for them and to be there even for the humans, why they are treating horses like that. So for me, this is one of the most points and reasons I want to help the animal, and I want to help the person that is actually handling the horse, and for myself as well, because when I have a horse in my hand, it's an animal, but it's still like a friend. It doesn't matter if it's white, brown, black, or big or small. It's still not a machine. And like this, I wanted to get the chance to show myself, first of all, to improve myself and my knowledge about horses and everything that surrounds it, to learn more and to improve it and to bring it back to Germany to help other people here in this country or maybe one day worldwide. For me, my biggest idol is Simon Stokes. As I was little, and I already followed him for a long, long time around the sales when he prepares the youngsters, see videos of Gestüt Verhof, know the story of Lomitas, and of course Monty Roberts itself, because Monty we won the race when he was giving the prize in Munich that day, and when he was standing right in front of me, I was too shy to actually talk up to him. But he's hanging in our corridor where we get the horses in and out, the big picture of him and my father. And I always go past it in the morning. And I said to myself, one day I want to be like him, or at least get the knowledge known by him to improve myself and to say I am able to handle also difficult horses or horses with problems. And for me, there's no bigger dream to get this worked out. It's a dream of my life to get the chance and the opportunity, first of all, of course, getting out of this country for seeing something else, as I'm only 27 and I'm working since I'm actually 15. I started my apprenticeship as a hotel manager. It was never even my favorite job, but I did it. And I want to be with horses and I want to work with horses, and that's all my lifetime dream.
Yeah, I know that sitting at an office desk is not your destiny. Is that right?
Well, it depends. For every job in the world, if you are self-employed, you have to do the office, and you have to be structured, and you have to be focused as well. You have to know about it, and the incomings and outgoings to get everything sorted. It's like in private life, but it's not the main job I want to do.
Right.
I prefer to be out in the sun or in the rain or in the storm and be in the dirt instead of to be sitting with nice nails on a desk and thinking about my money and income. No, I prefer to be in the yard, to be
I
fair.
know you do. I love that about you, that you muck a stall just as quickly as you greet a new client too. And good for you, because being holistic about this industry, you're going to be a great example for trainers going into the future. I think people are becoming more and more aware that trainers are multi-level in their job that they have. It's not just about being a good physical and conditioner of horses, and it's not just about trying to figure out the most efficient race or most efficient rider up, race jockey to put on. It's more than all that too. It's a very complicated business, isn't it?
It is. So in my part, I muck out in the morning my boxes. I tack the horses. I get them ready for the paddock or for the walkers. I travel with the horses. I bring them everywhere. I drive the horse box. I do all the surrounding about the leading up part. I'm at the race course. I'm doing the assistant trainer to my dad as well. So I'm actually taking over all the places at the moment. And this is what makes great fun. And from even emergencies. I mean, everybody knows it's animals. They can get hurt like humans as well. And you have to be responsible in the situation and have a clear head. And you are, for this situation, the main person. These situations, of course, are in it as well. And it's all that comes together, and you are responding someone that can't really talk. Well, he can talk your language if you understand the horse, what it's trying to tell you. Might not talk the same words like we, but for me, this is like the way of being with them and taking care of them. And yeah, how I already said, I prefer to be in the dirt instead of in the trainer's lounge. So it's not for me.
Trainer's lounge. Yeah. So I'm kind of excited to see what you are most intrigued by. I always say Dad's superpower, I think, is his powers of observation, to read a horse, to see, where he's finding difficulties, but also then coming up with an approach. And I've seen horses with similar difficulties, but he approaches them in different ways, which is fascinating to me too. What intrigues you most about coming over here to learn some of his concepts?
So first of all, I was watching a lot of videos, of course, of YouTube. Your Instagram is very helpful as well, and also all the videos are just surrounded by the world. The most important story to me is the story of Lomitis when he tried to bring him into the stalls, because this is one of the main pains that we have, bringing horses into a small gate to stand there and wait to do their action. So for me, every spot he does in the quiet and easy, readable, and going forward to the horse, I must say I've never ever seen a horsemanship like that in my whole life. Everywhere you go, there will be little bits of it, but a person that have such a calmness to the horses in such a readable version, I've never met in my whole life. And for me, this would be one of the greatest things in my life, to see him and maybe doing it. I don't know about it if he still is in it that much, but at least to be on his place and to see where everything started. And of course, you to meet would be for me the biggest dream. And I don't care what I have to do. I love to be surrounded and be outside. And that's something I really, really want to do.
It may surprise you, but I think probably one of the first things he'll do, besides sort of showing you a classic join up and showing you what he does with the starting stalls and with the gentlers, with Mustangs that, are untouched to begin with, but also working with the deer. Does that surprise you?
That's crazy. And that's something I would do directly if I'm not scared of any animal. And I think and that you can train them as well. I think you can train every animal if you have the passion for it, and if you want to do it, and you stay calm and you give the animal the chance. I think you could do everything.
Yeah. Well, I think he would almost, I don't know, we'll see how he responds to that too. We'll ask him when you're here. But I think he would almost say the deer train him.
That could be as well. I think also that an animal gives you back again the quietness, the spirit of yourself, and the trust in yourself.
Mhm.
That's for me the three main reasons why I love to work with animals more than with humans.
A lot of people say that. Don't worry. No, I think it's because the reason people say that a lot, I think, is because a lot of horses don't have the problems. They have people problems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, we deal with a lot of horses, especially if you get into the remedial, where you say like, what has somebody done to this poor guy to confuse him so much about people? And that's where you get this little, I'd rather be around horses than people sometimes. I think because horses don't have the ability to lie or contrive. So it is fun to see them just to respond and we can get that response to be more and more confident out of them and less of an issue. Yeah. So it's going to be fun to have you. What's the first thing you want to do when you get to California, Shannon?
Hit the road down to your face and see everything.
Okay. All right. Well, you're going to have fun. And you're going to be okay staying in a bunkhouse and being just one of the guys here, huh?
I have absolutely no problem. I have no problem with other cultures. I don't have any problem with other people. I don't have any problems as long as I have a bed and a shower, and I can be doing and learn and improve myself and learn for myself and learn, me and myself. Like this is the only most important thing to me, and I can't wait, to be honest, to get into the plane and just head over and see everything and see new people. I'm such an open person. I have no problem with no one. And just see something new. Yeah. I mean, if you're once in racing, I can say if you're once in racing, you're always open to go everywhere and to learn and see. And that's the only way how I think you get forward in life. And life is short. You never know what happens, and you should take every opportunity you can get.
That's a great thing to say. And I think your parents, Jeanette and John David Hillis, have raised a great kid. So they'll be very proud of you here. And I know that they're supporting you in this, taking some time to do this. It's almost like a little gap thing that you're doing, right?
Yes. They are. I think they're one of the proudest ones. Even seeing me riding, even Daddy wouldn't actually like me to ride races because he knows how dangerous it is, but he knows my version of it. I said, it can happen to me in training. It can happen to me if I'm sitting in the car or on a bicycle. Mm-hmm. And as long as I'm able to sit on a horse, I will always sit on a horse and I always will take care. And he actually loves that sentence because he says, that's my girl and she always going to be that. So, yes. Okay.
Super sweet. Well, I can't wait to get you over here, and I can't wait to meet you and shake your hand because I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to enjoy our instructors that are here and our staff, and you're going to have a great time at the school. I wish you well and travel safely, and we'll be in touch.
Of course. Thank you very, very much.
Monty likes to say that the concepts inherent in the language equus are based upon always giving the horse the power of choice. This is why he created his online university. So rehabbing and rehoming racehorses. You want to save them all. We get it. You will love this series with Monty and Jamie Jennings, host of Horses in the Morning and a certified Monty Roberts instructor out of Oklahoma. They work together on retraining ex-racehorses or off-the-track thoroughbreds for new, purposeful careers. See this series at montyrobertsuniversity.com. Well, welcome back, Monty Roberts. Yes, I'm so glad to be able to continue this conversation about some of the unique qualities that Hastings Harcourt sent you around the world to seek out. One thing that you said that was interesting to me, though, earlier, was that you looked in France and other countries, and you can tell me where, but it was actually California that you found two of some of your most unique attributes to a good horse facility. And I thought, well, I'm going to ask you first about
the round pen, because that started up north, I believe you said.
Yeah, it did. And you're right about being sent around the world. You know, it was nearly a year, 8 months or so, in an airplane constantly, and going from one place to another with suggestions from people about a unique thing that was happening here, happening there, and new ideas, you know.
Yeah.
But the two things we're going to talk about coming up are ones that I found right here in California. That's not the only unbelievable part of it, but the one that intrigued me the most was not found on a horse farm. There I was going to horse farms, and I'm talking 40 countries.
Right.
And here I'm in San Jose, California, and there are some horses around there, and I was going to look at some horses from students of mine. But I passed a thing that was being built on the side of the road, and it was being built on a massive vineyard. And I had seen a huge amount of people working there, and it had a name on the sign of a brand of wine they were going to come out of there with. And I looked at something being built that for all the world looked just like a wine barrel.
Okay.
And it turns out that they were creating a monster wine barrel. And it was all glued together. I pulled in there, and they were intrigued about my ideas with horses. So they took some time to talk to me about this. And it was a wine barrel. And it had no nails in it. It had no corners jutting so that it caught the grapes up, I guess. I don't know. But if you looked at the inside of a wine barrel, that's what I was looking at.
Smooth.
And
it's like a tongue and groove, or smooth?
It's like a tongue and groove. It's smooth, very smooth. And they told me that they were taking advantage of a new system called glulam material. And glulam material is to make boards come together from within. They take them down to a pulp and then press them into the shape that they want. And these barrel staves or sides, barrel boards, come together seamlessly with this glulam material. And they had a roof on it. It got smaller at the top like a wine barrel and smaller at the bottom like a wine barrel. It has some brace legs out on the side because it sat there just the same as a wine barrel would sit there. And you wouldn't want to knock that big one over somehow. So I guess they put some staves for legs. And then to tell you that God's up there working for me, I drive home from San Jose because I'm getting ready to go to the next country, and I haven't been here for a while, and I need to see my horses and stuff. And when I get home, there's a man here that came to visit my construction crew because I was just building this farm. The farm wasn't here.
65, 66 yet?
65.
Yeah.
1965. And this guy said, you know, some things really intrigue me here, and I want to come back to California. I said, where you been? And he said, I've been in Alaska. What have you been doing in Alaska? Well, they make these boards now called glulam. What? I just heard about them. Yeah, they're brand new, and they're coming out of Idaho, and they have strength that we've never seen before in boards. And you create them to come together in molded corners instead of square corners and stuff like that. And I started thinking about this wine barrel. And I said, these are the same things that the guys were telling me about the wine barrel. But, you know, all round pens have rafters. Otherwise, the roof falls in. Or if you want it inside, you could have it outside if you buried the posts in the ground and, you know, you have the old-fashioned round pens. And that's what I was getting ready to design to build, was the old-fashioned round pens. I had a round pen in San Luis Obispo, and I just bring the same kind of ingenuity down to do it here. No, he said, what you ought to have is a rafterless round pen. Aren't the birds a problem in these rafters? Yeah, they certainly are. And you want smooth sides on a round pen, don't you? So that horse doesn't hit corners and rough places. Yes, that would be nice. Well, he created, and I advised him as to the size and stuff like that. And we built a wine barrel.
Yeah.
And we left a gap open at the top so that we could see over the fence. Yeah. And later we put a ramp around so you could stand up there and hook your elbows over the top of it and watch horses, with a solid wall. And the solid wall was smooth. There were no corners. There were no edges. And it sloped slightly outward like a barrel does. Mm-hmm. So when the rider is riding, their leg is further from the fence than in a normal round pen with a normal fence. Mm-hmm. So I built the first round pens without the posts in the ground that stand straight up and can hook your legs, without rafters, and everything about them was brand new to any round pen ever built anywhere. I mean, I had looked at every round pen I could find. And the glulam lumber came in so handy because it's so strong. And I suppose these round pens cost us a bit more than normal, but you built the barrel, and then you don't have any rafters, but, you know, the top could go out or it could come in with years and weather and things like that. So we sloped, let's call them power poles, because they were treated so that they didn't rot. And they were about 1.5 feet or maybe 14, 15 inches in diameter, so they were about the size of a power pole. But we planted them about 6 feet wider at the top than they were at the bottom.
And the bottom is 50 feet in diameter?
50.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 feet in diameter. And the top is about 55 or 60 feet in diameter. I can't remember now. But how are we going to keep them from having pressure down on the roof with wind and stuff? And I had many of the other kind of builders come in and say, this won't work at all. This thing is going to spread out and the whole wall is going to fall on the ground. So the guy from Alaska said, no, I'm helping you here. And what we do is we take about a 2-inch iron cable and we build a little rack around on each post for this cable to sit in a trough. And we put it up there, and then we put a very long, I think it's about 3 feet in length, drawbar. And so they built it with a post in the middle of the round pen. And I said, wait a minute, I can't have a post in the middle of the round pen. No. We're building it this way. Then they let it sit on this plate at the top. The plate is still there. You can come and see it. And it had a spike that went up through it on a post standing in the middle of my round pen. And I said, tell me how this is going to work now. And the guy says, well, you know my drawbar up there on that cable? It makes the cable shorter, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, it's a 2-inch cable with double the amount of wear and tear power that any lumber would have. Normal building, typical
would hold a bridge up, I would think.
Tropical building, holds bridges up. Yes, the cable, big cable. And he said, we get up there and we crank this thing with a long bar with a lot of leverage. And we watch that plate in the middle. And when the cable lifts it off at the peak at the top of the round pen, when it lifts it off that, we take the post out of the middle and you have your round pen hanging on a cable.
Yeah.
And it can't go anywhere because the bottom can't move. It's 8 feet down in the soil and concrete. And there they are. It's now, what is it?
55 plus years, yeah.
65.
55, I think. Yeah.
66 we built.
Well, we built it in
65.
Yeah, and it'd be 55 years. Yeah.
It'd be 55 years old now. Yeah.
Or more.
And those two round pens that we have are absolutely sturdy.
Yeah. 100%.
And where the horse's feet struck, I put some heavy-duty boards down there, smooth plywood, and there's no damage to the round pen.
It's amazing.
And we get 50, 60, 70 people up there, and they can go all the way around it and see it. But it is a dream of a design that I didn't do, and no horseman did.
Right.
It was the winemakers that made my round pen. And now a lot of people have looked at it. I don't know how many have used it, but most of the builders that they go back home to and say, I want to build this, say, no.
Don't do it.
and they most of them don't do it. But
and why the solid sides? Was that just something you'd always had too?
Yeah, the solid side has a lot to do with join up. And there was a guy in Paso Robles that had me coming there and starting all of his babies. And I drove, 20 minutes to his place from where we were in San Luis Obispo. And he had a normal fence plywood, normal fence round pen that the horses could see through. And every time they saw a horse in another field or something, you lost your communication with the horse.
Yeah.
With these solid walls, you have him. It's you and the horse, and he doesn't see, well, he could see some heads above that, but it hasn't been a problem.
Yeah.
The round pen that we have causes join up 5 times better than any round pen that the horse can see through.
Yeah, and one segue, sort of side note before we go on to the pasture covers, is that I think you said that the first time you really had performed a join up in front of a crowd to show it, it was at Windsor Castle, and it was with a paneled side that the horse could see through.
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Not good. But one thing about that was that it was in a riding hall.
Yeah.
So it had big walls all the way around
Boundaries,
without seeing horses in the field.
Yeah,
and
that's a good
stuff.
point. Yeah, that's a good point.
And it was portable panels. And the queen came the first day she saw it. She came up to me just as I arrived and said, my, oh my, is that the round pen that's sitting in there? Yes. Ooh, she said, it looks like something I should have a whip and a chair to go into.
Lion tamer, huh?
Lion tamer, yeah.
Well, on that same note, you had an idea for a pasture cover. Now, I don't know if that totally came from you, but I think you said something about you saw something like it in Southern California.
Yeah, I had some horses for a trainer in Southern California. I can't remember his name, but it goes right back to the time I was building this farm. I had his horses in San Luis Obispo. He only had 3 or 4 horses with me, but he had a girlfriend that was very wealthy, and she was building him a place down in Lancaster area in Southern California. And he invited me to come down there and see some new ideas that he had in building this horse farm, and maybe I could make some suggestions to him. Well, I don't remember a dang suggestion that I made. I probably made some, but I don't remember them. But I remember one that he designed that I stole immediately because it was a freestanding, looked like a big spider, 4 to 6, I think it's 6 poles 3 and 3 in straight lines, 12 feet apart. And on top of those poles were rafters or beams.
Beams, really, yeah.
Yeah, and then it made a place you could put rafters.
Right.
And I wanted feed to go in the 12 feet in the center, and I wanted horses to feed on the outside. But I hated the fact that if you sent it out there 12, 14 feet, you have to put a post in the ground in order to hold it up, or the whole thing will sway down, and disappear. And that happens. I mean, you see it all over the world. I saw it everywhere I went. And all of a sudden, I see this thing with no legs there, and it's 14 feet out to where the horses walk in out of the rain.
Which
14
is great.
feet.
You can get several horses under there.
And the roof is there. Now, it's hard to describe that, because what you do is you take 2 very strong 3-inch thick boards, and they're 28 feet plus 6. So they're 34 feet long. Mm-hmm. And you go to one end of those and you set your saw so that you're going to have a board come off there that's only 4 inches wide. But you're going to cut to the 4-inch corner on the other end of it.
Because you're sloping it.
So you take 2 boards off of one, and you put the ends together, and there's those things out there that only become 4 inches out there, and you put metal on top of them. And everybody told me, those will be down in the first big wind.
They'll fly.
But you go under them, and you run an X with strap metal, corner to corner, and this is all for about 1/3 of the cost of the normally built
Really? Wow.
shade shelters, we call them. Feed shelters, shade shelters, rain shelters. And there they sit.
55 years.
55 years.
Or more.
And I don't know of a problem. And I mean, there's some things now we need to do to.
You have your wood, some of the wood.
Yeah, it is wood,
tack.
and it's only, but it's 55 years.
It's thick
with
wood,
horses galore.
Oh my gosh, the whole time. Probably the most vulnerable thing on it is the corrugated that's on the roof.
That's right.
So,
That's absolutely right. But there's no wood to chew.
yeah,
There's
for
no
the horses
corners to hit a hip on.
Exactly. And you don't have birds.
You don't, yeah.
You don't have birds that are pooping into the manger or into where you drop food into the manger.
Yeah.
So
At the same time I was building this, there was a guy building a horse farm about 10 miles north of Santa Barbara. So it made it only about 20 miles south of where I am. And he came to see, he said, I heard about this thing. Everybody's talking about this thing you're building, and I'm building 6 or 8 feed shelters down there in my pastures. So I just came up here to look at this, but it sounds ridiculous to me. And I just had them up. They were all, kind of step back and have a look at them time. And he just slapped his legs and said, are you kidding me? Those will be on the ground in 2 weeks. They're going to break right off the first wind that comes by.
They kind of look like they could, right?
And it does
big
look
wings. They're
like
like
they
airplane wings that stick out both sides.
But those metal bands underneath hold the corners together. Anyway, they have replaced those 3 times.
Really?
3 times.
So it's still here.
And it's different owners, and the other owners don't come and see why they should do them this way.
That's why we're recording this, so that we have this posterity.
But those 2 things, the round pen and the feed shelters, or whatever you call them, pasture shelters, are the most effective changes that I made in the horse world. Yeah.
Besides horse training,
Well,
I suppose.
not to do with the horse training.
Right, facility training. I think this is really interesting. I mean, we didn't even get to a covered arena yet. We'll have to do another part to this too, because there's water systems, the tongue and groove in the walls of the stalls.
And the promise of no rafters.
And the promise of no rafters anywhere in the covered arena. Glue lambs are also in that story. But we could even talk about some of the psychology too, like the starting gate and the fact that you have a 12-horse loose walker and the aqua tread. All those things were innovations that you acquired over time. But these that you've just mentioned were actually built here in 66, so 65, 66. So let's continue this conversation to get some of those unique qualities of facilities again.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, I rode and owned ponies as a child, but gave up in my teens to study and socialize. I'd like to take up riding again at 67, but I am so very nervous when riding. I've been told that Icelandic horses have a wonderful disposition for the senior rider. I would be grateful for any advice you are able to give me, as I enjoy horses so much and want a positive experience. Monty's answer. I think every breed has individuals that fall into the category of being safe and bomb-proof. Having said that, every breed also has its share of challenging individuals that might be less than safe and reliable. The Icelandic horses that I have worked with certainly have the capacity to become gentle, steady, and sensible. The gait of the Icelandic is fine for a beginner rider. They're smooth and comfortable when properly trained. I have now worked with probably something over 500 Icelandic horses. On this basis of experience, I feel qualified to express the opinion that with proper schooling, the Icelandic can become a very good choice for a horse person in their senior years. The gait of the Icelandic is called the tolt and is similar to that of several other breeds, the walking horse, the Missouri foxtrotter, the Rocky Mountain horse, and of course the Peruvian Paso and the Paso Fino, to name a few. Without personal experience, I have it from reliable sources that the tolt and other gaits of this kind offer a ride that is smooth, comfortable, and level with the ground. It is said that you can take a glass of wine with you and never spill a drop. These folks go on to tell me that the tolt is much less likely to cause a rider to be muscle sore from the experience. The most important piece of advice that I can give you is whatever horse you choose should be a safe individual no matter what breed it is. Color, breed, or other aesthetic virtues should be way down lower on your list of priorities than safety. The second consideration should be health and soundness. Then we go on through a list of about 20 important aspects in selecting an appropriate horse. It is crucial that you get this decision right, as it will affect your relationship with the horse and your own safety and enjoyment for a long period of time.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to montyroberts.com and click on the words Ask Monty at the bottom of the page. Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged. In August, we're going to have two-legged peoples coming to take the introductory course module 3. Two-legged people.
Are there any peoples that are not two-legged? I guess there's one-legged people, so yeah,
could
there could be.
But in this case, they're all two-legged. I know them because we're in the middle of the intro course right now. So this is module 3, starting from when this is released. 16, 19, and 20 is the introductory course module 4. And then we have on August 25, Horsemanship 101. Get that in because those are usually packed. And then September, jumping to September 2024, we have 9 through 13, the Gentling Wild Horse Course. That's 5 days. And Shannon, our guest today, Hillis, will be there and taking that course with us. So you can see a lot more at montyroberts.com or call at 805-688-6288 for the calendar.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Gentling wild horses, September 9 through 13, or any other gentling wild horses that you have. Mm-hmm. Is that something if somebody can only sneak 3 days in that they can do?
Yeah, we've had that happen. People have prorated before because sometimes people will come for another course, like the intro course or whatever, and go like, what? You have the gentling wild horses? I want to stay, but I can only stay 2 more days or something like that, right?
So you can work with them on that. Just give them a call. Yeah.
I can. Yeah. Let us know what the situation is and we'll do that. I mean, knowing that they're not going to see either the beginning and does that look like, or even worse, maybe, is they don't see the end, the complete process over 5 days. But heck, you get so many of the concepts in each day. We went like, it's worth it.
Yes, people's schedules are crazy busy. And,
yep.
Somebody, for example, from the East Coast, they might not get to the West Coast very often, but golly, they can sneak a couple of days on either end of something else that's sending them out there. For example, they want to add on to a family vacation or add on to a business trip already. They're going to be on the West Coast, and they can gather up a little bit of Monty's wisdom while they're out there. Yeah,
cool. And see the horses. I think for an introduction, this is the first one that Jamie Jennings took too, before she was even considering certification. But she took this one just to see the beauty of the pure language equus, right? They're completely wild. They're untouched. So they manifest the most incredible sensitivity. And it's really fun to see how far they can come with just the proper facility and then the proper teaching. So I think, it's closer to an auditor's course if you don't want to jump in there. So if you're going to be there for 2 days or something and you didn't even want to be in the pen, you've got a chute between you, right, for the horses, you didn't have to be either. So we've had people from in their 80s take this course. And then, of course, we've had very young, 18 plus, take this course. So that part doesn't matter as much as whatever you want to see, whatever you want to glean from it, or whatever you want to start with.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating. The whole thing is just fascinating. So even if you can't squeeze an entire course in, if you're going to be there and you're able to tack it on there, it's a great way to get started and get some inspiration that you can take home and then take advantage of the university. Because if you've experienced it even a little bit in person, that will help when you go to the university and watch the videos. It will make more sense. It will be easier to absorb. At least that I thought so.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're exactly right, because you hear a lot in the course, Gently Wild Horse course. You hear a lot of tuck your fingers in, a lot about the language. Avert your eyes now. Go soft on those shoulders. Breathe. You'll get a lot of the physiology and a lot of the gestural language of horses, which is silent, of course, like signing for the deaf. And then if you see that applied, you'll watch for it in those videos that are on the online university, right? Now it'll make more sense to you because you breathe through it. You saw those horses react slowly and carefully with people, and how the people had to be around horses before they would trust them, trust the people. So
all of that and more. And it can be found at horsemanshipradio.com, where you will find links about today's episode. And as usual, hop on over to your social media accounts and follow, like, and friend Monty Roberts on Facebook. It's Monty Roberts with a little blue check mark. On Twitter and Instagram, it's Monty_Roberts.
And many thanks to our sponsors, too. Thank you, Jay Michelson at Hands on Gloves. And I'm glad you all got through this podcast to hear me say that, because he is a great sponsor and promoter of this whole program that we have, which is to gentle and take violence out of the training of horses. So thank you, Michael, Jay Michelson, for Hands on Gloves and for your sponsorship, and also Monty Roberts University, which is our seeds to the world, casting seeds to the world to get people to understand better our nonviolent training here. And until next time, have many happy horse hours.